Hello and welcome to the Consumer Quarter. I'm Simon Palin. On the show today, Google Plus minus the users. Google's answer to social networking fights for traction. And News Limited to start charging for some online news content.
It's what I call the grand experiment, where the news organisations recognise that they need some other revenues.
But first, the battle of the supermarket giants is shifting into the digital realm. Woolworths is making some final preparations for a new website to help promote its home delivery option. Some analysts say the concept of buying groceries online and then having them home delivered has limited growth potential. Here's retail consultant Peter Ryan.
I think that depends on your definition of success. If you look at the best run supermarket in the world, Tesco in the UK, online and home delivery represents less than 3% of their sales.
So if it's such a small portion of the market that Tesco has in the UK, why are Woolworths going after the same strategy?
I think there's two reasons. Even 3% of supermarket sales in Australia is still about a $3 billion market, so it's nothing to sneeze at. And what they will want to do is close out any competitive threat in that particular area. But secondly, both Woolworths and Coles are constantly looking for positive news stories for both the share market and their customers to prove to them that they're being innovative and they're offering genuine customer service.
What sort of challenges do they face in the Australian market to make this work well?
I think the reality of supermarket shopping has and always will be the fact that you've got to get the goods into the customer's hands and they're perishable. In which case, if it's home delivery, you've got to be there to take the goods. In which case, for most people, supermarket home delivery is just not convenient. Therefore, I think the reality of this thing is it's a really great statement from Woolworths of the things that they will do for their customers, but it's up to the customer to take it up.
All right, Peter Ryan, thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, online shopping aside, both Woolworths and Coles are being attacked on several fronts of late. Food suppliers and farmers are ramping up their campaigns against the supermarket heavyweights, saying they are not easy to deal with. It's all smiles on the shop floor.
Is that our special?
Nope, it's down and staying down every day.
But behind the scenes, Coles and Woolworths are the targets of growing anger.
We used to have a fantastic form of capitalism where you gave people a fair go. Yeah. You said everyone's got to make a dollar. These days, these retailers, and especially Coles, say, we don't care if you make a dollar as long as we maximise the return for our shareholders.
Recently on the Consumer Quarter, we looked at how two big food suppliers, Heinz and bread maker Goodman Fielder, are scathing at the supermarket heavyweights. Suppliers say Coles and Woolworths use their market power to force down the prices they pay for goods.
It's extreme capitalism. It's dangerous. It's going to wreck our way of life.
That view is echoed by farmers. The latest research from the New South Wales Farmers Federation shows supermarkets buy potatoes for as little as 35 cents a kilo and sell them for up to $3 a kilo. They get lettuce for 50 cents a kilo and sell it for almost $2.50.
If farmers are being forced to grow for less than their cost of production, I'm yet to see a business that can do that. Growers are being pushed closer and closer to the edge and to the point of failure. By some of these practices, by these major supermarkets. They want to buy it for the least amount of money and they want to sell it for the maximum amount of money they can.
And it appears the competition watchdog is listening. The new head of the ACCC says he now has the big supermarkets in his sights.
We can look at their supplier arrangements in terms of making sure there's no unconscionable conduct, and we can look at the fact that they're not misusing their market power, perhaps in the way they deal with branded products that may be competing with their own private label products.
Well, Coles and Woolworths might be hurting some suppliers, but the supermarket's price-cutting campaign is being welcomed by consumers. And in the advertising stakes, Coles appears to have the lead over Woolworths. New research shows Coles has done well out of its latest campaign using an oversized red hand to communicate lower prices for staple goods. Research by the Newspaper Association shows respondents appreciate the simplicity of the message. And still on the supermarkets, Woolworths is the latest company to try to tap into the growing market for pet insurance. These days there are MRI scans and sophisticated new surgeries for pets, and they are costing owners thousands. Here's the ABC's Nicole Chettle.
Modern medicine means that caring for four-legged friends can cost a small fortune. Australians will fork out $11 million on pet insurance this financial year. For Greggy Tamvarkas, it's money well spent.
I got $594 back just on one visit, totally good value for money, yeah.
Woolworths is the latest company to get on board, and while there are dozens of insurance providers, there's precious little competition. Rani Lewis-Jones ditched her policy after several years.
I was silly enough to make a claim last year and my premium went up over $80. You pay insurance for a reason. You hope that you get a fair deal. I didn't feel that I got that fair deal and as a result we've pulled out.
Regardless of whether owners insure their animals, being prepared for life's little accidents could help them avoid making heartbreaking decisions over money.
To euthanize a healthy animal just because it's got a broken leg is very sad. Yeah. And I think that sort of eases the burden of making those tough decisions when you want to do the best you can for your pet, but financially it's probably not the best thing to do.
And the saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks is true when it comes to pet insurance, because no new provider will cover animals beyond the age of 9. Choice says the trick is to do your homework, and when you find a good provider, stick to it.
Well, desserts labelled low fat may not be as guilt-free as you might think. The consumer group Choice has analysed 31 dairy desserts and found that while they are low in fat, they're often high in sugar and sodium. Food and Grocery Council has dismissed the analysis.
Tasty and low fat, but are these desserts really guilt-free? Choice assessed 31 desserts labelled low fat or fat-free and found many have too much sugar and salt to be considered healthy.
A reduced fat claim is often a cover for a product that's high in sugar.
One Weight Watchers product was rated as one of the worst for sugar. The company says its products offer better alternatives to others in the same category. The Food and Grocery Council argues the analysis is flawed.
Choice's comments are simply untrue. There are a lot of people who are looking for low-fat desserts, and by having the information on the front of pack is useful information.
Nutritionists are keen to reinforce the message that fruit is always a good option to satisfy that sweet tooth and not always to reach for the pre-packaged desserts. And if it's a choice between sugar and saturated fat, some believe sugar is better.
Desserts tend to be where saturated fat is found, and that's not good for our heart. So I still think it's a good idea to choose low-fat desserts, but just watch how often you eat dessert.
The choice analysis is part of a broader push to change the way food is labelled.
There'd be a pre-market assessment as to the overall healthiness of a product. If it is deemed healthy, then the nutrition claims, the labels on the front would allow to carry terms such as 99% fat-free.
The group wants a nutrient profiling system to give consumers a clearer picture of the food they're buying.
And the sports shoe maker Reebok was in hot water for not giving its consumers a clear picture of what they were buying. Reebok agreed to pay $25 million to settle charges of false advertising. Reebok sold its Easy Tone joggers as an easy solution to a better body.
Reebok Easy Tone, proven to tone your hamstrings, calves and butt up to 28% more.
But the US consumer watchdog says Reebok's claims didn't stack up.
Reebok's claims didn't withstand scrutiny. There are consumers expected to get a workout, not to get worked over.
The $25 million paid by Reebok will go toward customer refunds. Well, despite all the hype, the latest social networking website Google Plus is losing many of its users. In a bid to ramp up anticipation and excitement, Google initially kept the site invite-only. That didn't work, so it opened up the cyber gates to allow anyone to join. After an initial spike, the site's traffic dropped, down by a massive 60%.
They had a lot of people attracted to it. The whole idea of Google launching a Facebook killer made a lot of sense, but when people came to it, what you're finding now is a lot of people leaving because it looks like Facebook, it feels like Facebook, but what makes Facebook interesting is that all your friends are there. We've spent 6 years, a lot of us, putting our online lives on Facebook, and there's photos and relationships there that Google Plus just doesn't have.
That's Mark Fennell there. Well, it's been Rupert Murdoch's long-held intention to make people pay to read online news content. News Limited has announced it'll start charging readers to view the Australian newspaper website. It'll be the first mainstream Australian newspaper site to charge a subscription fee, but nobody's sure if it'll work. Newspaper executives always suspected they couldn't beat the digital revolution, so at first they cautiously joined it by offering news content online. Now News Limited is about to start charging for it.
It's brave for News Limited to come out ahead of, the Fairfax newspapers, I guess their main competitors here.
Fairfax also has plans to charge for some of its online news content. Analysts say with falling advertising revenues, the publishers have little choice.
It's what I call the grand experiment, where the news organisations recognise that they need some other revenues.
News Limited has announced plans to make readers pay to view the Australian website. Some content like breaking news and basic stock market data will remain free, but soon only subscribers who pay $2.95 per week will get access to premium content. News Limited says readers will be happy to pay because the rise of mobile internet means they can view content wherever they are.
Digital devices give newspaper publishers the opportunity to reach readers from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep.
Some newspapers overseas, like the Wall Street Journal, have managed to make readers pay for online content, and here the Financial Review website is subscription only. But will it work for Australian mainstream mastheads?
I don't really think it's fair. I think there should be kind of free access to it. But
you'd find it some other way for free anyway, so there's no point really paying for it.
Everyone's doing something to make a living, and they're not a charity, are they?
They've had a good business model selling the hard copy, so I think people will pay for it digitally.
The entire newspaper industry will be watching closely. And the television industry too is grappling with the new media landscape. Recently there's been a swift rise in the number of channels being offered, and now there's yet another new one in the United States. Wait for it. McDonald's is rolling out its own channel. The company is putting up big TVs in 800 stores across California to broadcast the channel known as McTV. It'll run entertainment programs and reality TV. It's really a ploy to get customers to stay in-store for longer, but some believe McTV is just as likely to drive people away. And that's all for this edition of the Consumer Quarter. Thanks for joining us. If you've got any story ideas or any feedback, feel free to get in touch on Facebook, search for the Consumer Quarter page and click like if you want to be kept up to date. And I'll see you next time.